Like
Is
right,
it, is it showing up at all?
shows up as a thumbnail, which is like a fuzzed out version with just the.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's Proclaim Live webinar. We're going to be going over audio recording today and also just doing some general Q&A with the audience. There's a couple minutes while everyone is going to begin streaming in. And so while we do that, we want to just get set up. And I'd like to go ahead and introduce you to those who haven't met yet. This is Jordan Chaudin.
Hello.
Jordan is one of the developers here on the project. And he's going to be joining us this morning to answer some of our questions. So we're all excited to have you here. What we're going to be doing is walking through the basics of the program in regards to audio recording, answering any kind of general questions about the setup for that process, and then we'll be just opening it up for everyone here in attendance. And if you have any questions, we'll look forward to answering those. You can ask questions through the Q&A panel, which you'll see here on the screen as you're watching along. And you'll see there's already a few questions in there. Feel free to keep throwing those in. You can upvote some of the questions that you want prioritized, and we'll be answering those for you. So anyway, we're going to just jump right into the program here. We're going to be doing a fair amount of screen sharing. We're going to show you the basics of using audio recording, which will include how we do publishing and all of that fun stuff with the new feature. So we're so excited to be sharing this with you and having you here, and we're going to jump in. All right, and here we are in the Proclaim program. I'm going to go ahead and just take out, adapting one of my old presentations. So for anyone who's here and used Proclaim before, you'll see that what we've done is we've just opened up one of our presentations. In this case, I have just duplicated an older presentation so that I could go ahead and work with that today. And we're going to chat about just the basics of setting up audio recording. So when you want to set up audio recording, what you'll want to go and do is check a couple things. The first thing that you want to make sure is that you do in fact have a microphone audio coming into the computer. That'll make sure that when you begin to record, there'll be something there to hear. And so what I'm going to do to check that is I'm just going to go up to the settings menu here in the upper left. And you'll notice that we have the display tab in the settings menu, but we also have an audio tab. So I'm going to switch over to that audio tab. And we can see that right now the computer's picking up the onboard microphone. And I'm able to change my volume setting a little bit in case I'm getting a little bit too high and make sure that my level's what I want it to be. And once that's set up, I can just click out of the settings menu here. Now that we know that the audio is going to be coming in, what we want to do is actually set up the time that we want our recording to occur within the service. And so we do that from the Add Item menu, where we've created these audio recording queues. We have a Start Recording queue, and we have a Stop Recording queue. And we're going to go ahead and start by just adding in one of each of those right here. So now we see that we've just brought in our Start Recording queue, which looks like the microphone symbol, and our Stop Recording queue, which is designed similarly but has a stop button instead. So that's a kind of intuitive way for us to see which is which. And we're just going to drag and drop our Stop Recording queue around the space that we want to have be recorded when we're speaking. So you'll see here that we've got the Start Recording queue, we've got all the slides where I want recording to happen, and then we have the Stop Recording queue. You'll notice that I have another Start and Stop Recording queue in the order of service as well. And what's great about this feature is you can actually have multiple start and stop queues. And what the program will do is it will just take all of the various start and stops that you have, and it will put those together into one audio file when you're done recording. And the kind of advantage here is that that means that maybe if I'm speaking and I'm preaching as the pastor, and then somebody else comes in like a visiting missionary, we can record both those bits and have them automatically brought together into one audio recording to share with our congregation. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is just go through really quick and explain, now that we've got the audio cues in the program, how we go on air and test this live. So let's start by going on air from the welcome slide, which in this case you'll notice is not part of the audio recording section. So when we go on air, we're now live, just like our congregation would be seeing. Currently we're in grid view. And what I'm going to go ahead and do is bring us into our first slide that's actually in the audio recording. And you can see that here in the thumbnail preview of what the congregation sees. Now up here in the upper right hand corner of the program next to the edit and preview buttons, you're going to see that there's now a microphone with an audio level that's showing. That means that I am currently recording and that it is happening right at this moment along with the audio level that I see. This wouldn't exist back when I was on the welcome slide. So if I switch back to the welcome slide, it's not there. But now, when I'm in one of the sections that's being recorded, you can see that appear and disappear. Now, if I notice that my volume is either too low or too high, I can just go right back to that settings menu and make the changes that I want. And what I'm going to do is just go through really quickly a couple of these slides. We've already talked about the audio recording cues, but I want to speak over each of these slides to give you an indication of how we not only capture your audio, but also the visuals from your sermon as well. So we also chatted about how to see the audio level while on air. That's right here in the upper right. We've chatted about the settings menu where you can take care of your input. And we want to go ahead and chat about the trim audio, which is going to come up as soon as we go off air. Now you'll notice that right here, we've gone into a song that isn't part of our start and stop recording. And so again, there's no live recording. And as we jump into the next slide, which we'll talk about publishing audio, which will come up in a little bit, you notice that my recording comes back, continues on, and then when I go off air, we're going to see a couple things happen at once. Now the primary thing to take away here is notice that we immediately give you a window to work with your sound, edit things, and publish. We want this process to be as simple as possible. See, we surveyed quite a few pastors and churches about how they do audio recording and their sermon preparation. And we discovered that churches and pastors that were recording their sermons to share with their congregation often had to use extra programs, sometimes extra computers, and definitely extra hours, both from the volunteers and the pastoral staff, in order to get recordings actually recorded and shared every week. And the reality was it wasn't always even every week. Sometimes it would be, a situation where maybe if they had their sermon done on Sunday, they would share it and record it on Monday to put out for the congregation. But other times it maybe wasn't until middle of the week, end of the week. We even talked to a couple pastors where they were lucky if they got out the recordings once a month. And while that's helpful for building up an archive of your sermons, it's not really helpful for actually meaningfully getting your congregation to interact with your sermons as they happen. And what we want you to be able to do is finish a sermon, and if you want, publish it within moments of finishing that sermon. So as soon as we go off air, we're going to be given the opportunity to begin to edit and publish our audio so that if we want, we can have that available for our congregation within no time at all from the service ending. And what's great about that is if somebody was sick or maybe they missed the service or they were working in the nursery and couldn't attend the sermon, they'll be able to now not only hear the sermon audio, but also see each of the visuals and what was involved with the sermon in that process. Let's chat a little bit about what we can do from this publish screen. You'll notice that right away, it gives me a sermon title. And from that sermon title, I can go in and make any changes that I want. I can also enter in speaker information, such as my name, what series it's a part of, in this case, webinars. I can give a description. I also can choose the image that I want to be associated with the either series or with the specific sermon. And you'll notice that I have a waveform where I can see the audio. Now this is really, really cool. Watch as I advance through the waveform. You're going to see that as we go through the parts where I was speaking with other visuals, that the various slides are changing to match where I was speaking. And that's because you'll see in the waveform there are these green indicator markers, and that indicates where a slide change has occurred. So that's just a really, really nifty way that we're able to combine that visual with the audio element for you. Now here in the waveform, we have the ability to drag and drop and either minimize or shrink and cut down on the audio. We can also restore that as we're working. And you'll also notice that there's this orange highlighted section as well. The purpose of this is to be able to kind of create a small audio soundbite or snippet that you can use as a promo for the sermon or the message. And you'll notice that this one I can bring down and shrink so that it's just a short promo that I can play here. Preview buttons. You're going to see that there's now, or I can just play the entire audio, actually in the audio recording. And you can see that here in the thumb. And that's just a couple of the helpful ways that we're able to give you some creative control. We have some more great improvements to this coming just down the pipeline within the next few weeks. We're excited to be bringing even more to this feature. But this is a way that you can shorten your recording. And then once you've got the recording set up the way you want, you can go ahead and hit the download button. When you hit download, it allows you to just save the WAV file and then upload that or use that how you will. But we don't want to just give you the tools to record and proclaim. We also want to give you everything you need to publish your sermons as well. So when we could click the publish button, we're going to see a few different steps happen at once. And this will take just a second, but luckily it tells us each step that it's going along the way, so we can see what's being accomplished in this quick process, where again, in the space of just a couple minutes after our sermon, we've been able to jump right into sharing and publishing our audio for our congregation. Now, again, while this is finishing up, I just want to take a second and say to everyone who showed up a little bit into the broadcast, welcome. My name is Wyatt. We're joined here by Jordan, who's one of our developers. And the two of us are going to be walking through both how audio recording works, but then answering any questions you have. So here in the Q&A panel on the right-hand side of the program, or not the program, but of the screen, you should be able to see and ask questions. So feel free to be posting those. And as you ask those, we're excited to be working with you and telling you more about that. So we're just going to go right back into the program and finish up the demonstration of what live publishing looks like. Notice that it's still going through, and it'll be just a second here till it's going to be finished. A lot of times, the first time you publish from a new computer, it will take a little bit longer while it's getting the process set up. And there we go. We've now published. Now, a few things you're going to see here from the publish screen. The first is where you can go and listen to your new recording. So one of the great things that we've done is we've made it so that not only are you working with your group in Proclaim to create your content and do your presentations, but you can now create a special group on faithlife.com, which will allow you and your congregation to listen to your audio recordings. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up right here. And you'll see that right here, I can play the audio. I can even jump around as I'm looking at the audio and look at the various places where I am within the presentation. But this is now available live. And what it's done is it's been posted to a church group. So let me chat a little bit about Faith Life and how this works. Faith Life is a website that we've created to allow you to interact with your churches, be it your small groups, your whole churches, your presentation team, in a way that allows you to communicate with your team, plan throughout the week, listen to your sermons after the fact. It's kind of just meant to be a hub of kind of a place that's a meeting for you and your ministry. So in Proclaim, you're probably used to seeing some of this from within the program. For example, on the right-hand side of the program, we have the Faith Life panel. From the Faith Life panel, you're able to ask questions with your team, maybe figure out what's coming up in your sermon through the week, and also just prepare various parts of the presentation. So the Faith Life panel exists here, and this is the group that you're working with your team. And you can see which group you're currently in by looking at your presentation group from the account drop-down menu. But you'll also see that there's a church group where all of your audio recordings will publish. Now, when you haven't set this up for the first time, you will see this screen appear. Let me just get it so it's fresh. You'll see this screen appear when you go to publish your audio for the first time. And what that will allow you to do is either create a church group or find an existing group if you already have one. You can also learn more from this page with the link that we provide. But in this case, I want to go ahead and find one. And since I already have the one that I'm used to using, I'll just search for that one. And I'll go ahead and quickly associate the groups. Now, if you are not an admin when you go to set up this process, it will send a request to one of the admins who will allow them to create the association between the groups. And once that's done, it's easy for us to go ahead and do our publishing. So again, once it's published, it's available on faithlife.com, and you'll see that when I want to open up that recording and go back, all I have to do is from the various presentations that I've got open, find the recordings tab, which is here in the center, and then open up the recordings that I've made for this presentation. Now you'll see that I've got this one that's already published. So I'm going to open it up. Here's everything that we already did. And you'll see that since I've already published it, it gives me the option of choosing here from the option where I last published. And that lets me pull up the publish screen again. So from here within the publish screen, we can see that we've already been able to listen to it. And we can also invite people. So if you want to invite your church members through a direct invitation to join that group and be able to access the Faith Life published sermon, you can do that right here. But you can also access your sermon from soundfaith.com. SoundFaith is the website where all your sermons will be hosted. It's currently in beta, and we're adding a bunch of new functionality and tools to it. But soon you'll be able to sign in with your account, manage your sermons, and otherwise get that prepared for use so that you're sharing that out with your audience. You'll see here in the bottom you have these social buttons that allows you to share out the link to your conversation and to your new sermon audio that's been published on Faith Life so that other people in your church can get a hold of that and go listen to it and join that group. And you'll also see that we have the ability to embed a sermon widget. So if I click get the code, that will take me out to soundfaith.com where it will give me the embed code so that if I want, I can set that up on my website for my church, which means that every time I'm updating and publishing sermons, they'll be automatically available for my church. on our website as well. And then we also see we have the option for a podcast. So through that, say on iTunes, you can go ahead and get it set up so that your service becomes not only available on your website or on Faith Life with the visuals, but also the audio can become part of a podcast so that when your congregation is commuting or working, they're able to get the audio as well. So we've just gone over the basics of how we set up the audio cues through the add item menu, how we record when we're on air, how we confirm that we're on air through the recording button that appears here in the program when we are recording live, how we look at our settings to make sure that our audio is set up in the program, and we've chatted through where to find our recordings, publish or download our sermon once it's finished recording, and also the options we have when we're publishing. So that really is the basics. It's really, really simple to get started and to jump in and start recording. We're so excited to have these features available to you. So now what we want to go ahead and do is just start jumping in and answering some of your questions here. So Jordan and I are going to be going back and forth, going through some of these questions, and we're excited to tell you more about it. So yeah, let's just jump right in. We're going to kind of start from the bottom where some of the first questions came in and work our way up. So Jason Walker asks, is there a way to continue recording while editing a current session? So short answer is yes, you can do that. If you want to do that, all I have to do is open up that recording screen and you can change that. And you could do that while you're live in the middle of another presentation. So once you're on air, say everything's on autopilot, the pastor's just talking, then you're welcome to go ahead and go into the recordings tab, open up the waveform from the previous recording, and go ahead and make changes there. That will be up on the screen, which means that it'll be kind of taking time away from managing the rest of the program. So if you have a very hands-on service, you might not want to be editing a current session until afterwards. But it's worth noting that you do need to finish the session that you're in before you can record it. So you can only edit a recording session that's been finished, not one that's in the process of happening. But you could edit a previous one while a new one is being recorded, something like that. So I hope that answers the question for you, Jason. All right. Jason also asked, is there a way to get the on-screen Bible to show up clearly during playback on the website? It displays fuzzy. So Jordan, do you want to take this one?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, we're aware of this. So on-screen Bible and videos, like motion backgrounds, all of them currently are just static thumbnails. And so last time I talked to someone, I think we're looking to make on-screen Bible at least have thumbnails for each section. So it might not be animated, but it will show you the text instead of just being a useless thumbnail. So not right now, but soon, hopefully.
Yep. So the way that works is right now, since it's not actually a video that shows up on faithlife.com, what actually is happening is we're taking your audio file and then we're pairing your visual or the transitions for your slides in that audio file. So as you transition along the way, we're able to set that up for you. Now, the advantage there is that it's a pretty small size, so it's easy for us to quickly build that out and share it. The downside is that some of those animated things like video or on-screen Bible don't come through because instead what you're getting is actually the thumbnail. Those are the same thumbnails that you would see if you were using, say, the remote control app. So what we do want to do is look for ways that we can better improve that feature, and that's definitely in the pipeline and something we're looking at. So Jason, that should answer that question for you. Feel free to clarify or ask more questions along the way. Okay, Jason also asks, is there an indicator somewhere in the control window that shows when the recording is live? He says, I see the microphone feed, but that's not the same. So again, when you're on air in the upper right-hand corner of the program, so we'll just go ahead and show you this really quick. When we go on air and we are in a section of the program where we do have audio recording set up with a start and stop cue surrounding it, you will see the audio is recording because of this button right here. And again, that will only appear when we're on air and when we're also selecting a slide that is inside of an audio recording section. If I go into, say, the welcome slide where there is no audio recording, that won't appear. So that's the indication of when you are actually recording live in the moment. All right. Now, right now, I'm going to be going after questions specifically relating to audio recording. As we go on, if we answer all those questions, any remaining questions will take time for. Teresa Williams asks, will church members need to log on to Faith Life to receive the sermon? Great question. So when we are publishing the program, you'll notice it goes into Faith Life. And the cool thing is we do create it so that you are able to have your church members log into Faith Life. It's free to sign up. It's a great place for you to be able to interact with the sermon. In fact, let me just jump back into Faith Life and show you really quick. From within the program on Faith Life, you have the ability to actually comment on the sermon. So once it's posted, you can say like, wow, that was a great point. But then maybe also say, I was confused about this question, or I was wondering about this question. And so there's a great way for you to do that. However, you don't need to sign in to Faith Life. When you email out that link or share that link, say on Facebook, Twitter, wherever you'd like, through the social sharing buttons on the publish window, they'll be able to go ahead and view that sermon without needing to sign in. But if they sign in, they're able to comment and really interact with it, and you can have more of a discussion throughout the week with your church, which is a wonderful blessing. So you don't need to sign in, but there's definitely benefits if you do. All right, let's see here. A couple other people just going through this mentioned for the motion elements to be recorded as well. Again, we're looking at the ways that we can get on-screen Bible, video, etc. to be recorded. It's something that isn't there yet, but we're exploring the opportunities to be able to do that for you. So Josh asks, is there a way to add a default intro, outro to the audio, like a musical introduction, a vocal introduction, a conclusion, telling about the church for publishing to a podcast? Josh, this is a great question, and actually we just had one of our own internal team members suggest the same thing during a meeting yesterday. I know that for a lot of people when they're doing podcasts, they like to have some sort of like, welcome to the podcast. Today we're going to be talking about, or this was recorded in, and after the fact, this was recorded for XYZ church. We'd love to have you join us Sundays, that sort of thing. So we recognize the advantage in this. Currently, there's not a way to do this, but we love the suggestion. We see the utility, and we're going to explore the way that we can do that because we see that it makes a lot of sense, especially for the churches that want to share this as a podcast as well. So good news, Josh. We're looking into it. Okay. Robert Walker says, last Sunday when I downloaded it, it only saved the file as a WAV. No video picture elements, just the audio. So that's correct. And I'll go ahead and show that again for everyone here within the program. When you publish the audio, so we open up the recordings and we'll take a look at the one we published. When you get to this screen and you choose the download option, all that's being downloaded is the WAV file. All the visual elements that are being saved, and again, it's not a video file, it's just the visual thumbnails that are being attached to your audio. That's all being done when we host it through SoundFaith and we share it on faithlife.com. So in order to have the visual element, you do need to publish it through faithlife.com using that SoundFaith in order to have all those elements happen as well.
And then you can use the widget. Then you can place the widget that we provide on your church website or wherever you want it, so you can have the slides of the audio.
Yep. So if you want to just get the audio file, download that from the publish or from the waveform screen. If you want to actually have the audio and visual, publish it through the program, and then go ahead and use that option of actually interacting with it by either putting it on your website or sending people to your Faith Life group, that sort of thing. All right, Teresa Williams says, we just use one laptop to run Proclaim. Is the audio recording coming from the internal laptop microphone? So whichever audio input you want to set up in the program. So for example, right now, my audio recording is coming from my microphone in my computer. But if you have some different form of like mic that you want to plug in, you can set that up. And Jordan can talk a little bit more about that process and ways to do that.
Yeah, when I was testing this feature at my own church, we already had a feed coming out of our soundboard, so that had the pastor's mic and it has all the musicians and everything all blended nicely from our sound guy. And so I was able to just plug that into my computer. I have a Mac, so I actually had to buy a little adapter for it that I showed it last time, but I don't have it with me. And so that way I got a really nice feed straight from the board, and so I could select that in Proclaim. That's actually something Robert did the same thing. He ran a monitor out from his board, and you get a really good feed. So that's how I would suggest using this feature. Like if you're just making a podcast or something at home, like you just want to share like a snippet with your church, you could use the internal mic just fine. But for real sermons at church, you probably want a feed for your board.
There you go. Thank you, Jordan, for answering that one. Let's see. Will a picture and an image slideshow show up on the published video file?
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. Those images, they will come in. So when you're doing the slideshow, it creates a thumbnail for each one, and those do show up in your actual visual component when you publish it. All right. Kevin asks, is there a way to make the audio record signal on the remote iPad or Android? By that, Kevin, probably you mean either to pick up the audio, or do you mean to know when audio is recording?
I think it's the second one.
To know when audio is recording?
He's probably controlling. You're probably controlling the presentation with your iPad, and you'd like to see when you enter the recording. So no, it's not there yet, but I don't see why we couldn't add that.
Okay, sure. Yeah, we'll definitely make a note of that one for you. Appreciate that, Kevin. All right, Josh asks, while editing a sermon audio, is there a way to cut out a section in the middle, like a period of silence, a coughing fit, etc.? Yes, we're working on that, is what I understand. It's almost done. So soon that will be an update which will allow you not only edit and trim from the start or the end of the audio recording, but also to pull out sections from the middle. So very, very soon that'll be available to you. And that's just kind of another point to all this. This is a new feature. We're so excited to have shared it with you. But we also recognize that it's new and there's going to be lots of improvements we can make. So all of your feedback really, really helps. And when you attend these webinars, that's also really helpful because it's a way for us to interact with you, learn what questions that people are having most often, and get back to you. So if you want, we'd love it if either on this page or from our website, you go ahead and contact us. You can email us at hello, HELLO, at proclaimonline.com, and just tell us what you think about the audio recording tool. Let us know what's great, what we can improve, that sort of thing. We also, for any of you that haven't already, we've got a group on faithlife.com that you probably have received an invitation to. And that's just if you search for Proclaim on faithlife.com, you'll find the Proclaim group that you can join. It's a way that you can follow along with new features, improvements, conversations with other users, that sort of thing. So there's just some ways that you can interact with us, give us your feedback, and we really, really value and appreciate that. We also would love to know, especially about like these webinars, how do we make those better for you? What are the things that you want to know? What's helpful information? So thank you so much again for that. We're going to keep going through some of the questions here. We've got a question again from Jason who asked, last night, says I could see the mic feed throughout the sermon, but when I went off air, it only captured 5 minutes of audio. I assumed it was because I hit preview or edit while the presentation was on air.
Yeah, sounds like a bug. I've never run into it, but can you tell them how to post on the forums? Because then we can follow up.
Yeah, absolutely. So in regards to that question, Jason, definitely it shouldn't, as long as you're on air and selecting the slide that's currently being recorded, it shouldn't lose that audio recording, even if you hit edit while you're on air. So it very well could be a bug. And so let's talk a little bit about when you do encounter something like a bug or maybe something where you're not sure and you want to follow up with us. If you want to interact with the developers and be able to share log information, which is diagnostics from the program, help us kind of be aware of if you think you found something like that, the best place to do that is actually through the forum. So let me show you where you can find that. And so if you want to go ahead and do that, from within the program, if you click on Help in the upper left in Proclaim, you'll see the ability to view online forums. And when you follow that link, it'll take you to the forums where you can write a new post. And in a new post, that's a great place to let us know in the title, audio recording doesn't seem to be working, or, only got 5 minutes during my last recording, some title like that. And then give us more information. And that's a really helpful way for us to be able to use that and work with you in that way. So that we can have our developers chat with you and respond. The other place you can interact with the forums is if you go to proclaimonline.com, which is our website, into the help section, you'll see that you have the ability to click on community, where you can again access the forums through there that way as well. So a couple different ways that you can get into the forums. And so Jason, particularly for the situation from last night, if that happens again, or if you can recreate that, or if you haven't actually used the program since that happened, maybe you could send us your log, just post in the forums, and also go to the help section of our website and just search submitting a log. And there'll be a guide there. We'd love to get that information and follow up with you. So appreciate that. All right, Al says, the website widget, in regards to that, can you show what this might look like in action on a week-to-week basis? I'm assuming that lets you put the code on the website once, and every time we hit publish, it automatically updates. But this isn't clear on your support website.
I think the current widget is like a per sermon basis, but I know our plans the whole time has been to offer like 2 variations of the widget. So for my church, we actually we make a new post on our website for each sermon, and so we would want to put a new widget on each post. But another church, like how you're saying, they might want to just have a single widget on one page, and you could go to it and view the newest sermon or click like view past sermons. And I think that is coming like real soon. I'll follow up with the Sound Faith team, but that would be like you would go to Sound Faith. Once you can log in, you'd log in and you would have like a special widget you can get. So I don't think we have that currently, but once we do, we'll make a better help article.
Yep. So yeah, thank you so much for pointing out the fact that we can improve the help article there. We will be expanding out more options for the audio widget, and so as soon as we get that out to you, we'll also update those articles so that's a little bit more explained. And it sounds like the direction, as Jordan mentioned, that we're going in is that you can do widgets specifically for that sermon or one that does update as you go along in your posting. All right, let's see here. Looks like we have a couple of questions here that aren't necessarily about audio recording, but are still good questions nonetheless. So we're going to ask those or answer those. While we're doing that, feel free to keep asking questions. If you want to put anything in there, just let us know. We're here to answer those questions for you. All right, so going in order, Jason's question was here at the start, and it was, is there a way to get the verse of the day slides in the King James Version? So verse of the day slides are actually created by an artist team in-house, and so those are whichever translation, I believe it's the ESV that we work out of. I think that's true. It may be the Faith Life Study Bible. But the point is the verse of the day is being basically hand-created by our artist team. And so whichever version that they work with is the one that they end up creating. So currently just the verse of the day is gorgeous, but it's fixed to whichever form that was created in. And for anyone who doesn't know, just because I want to take a minute to point this out, so for those of you that are here right now, this is really, really exciting, and I feel like not enough users know about verse of the day. So I want to jump in really quick. This is just a quick aside, but if you're in Proclaim and you go to the media browser and you open that up, you can go into My Content, and everyone within of Proclaim has access to what's called Bible art. And these are the verse of the day that we create. So you notice this is the one that we just created, but there are over 1,000 of these Bible verses that we've created, and they're not just verses, there are also motion versions of verse of the day. So if you click on media type from within the media browser, you'll see that there's still versions and also video or motion versions. And even though that's weird, let's see, it might not be, how is it saved in this? We're just updating some of these right now. But we've got some really great motion versions for these as well. And so as we load these in, I'll see if I can just find a couple.
Video on the side.
I did that one and I didn't want it to go.
Well, maybe get rid of Bible art. Maybe they show up in a different.
Oh, right, here we go. That's right. We've been tagging these to improve this. But here's an example. So here's some of the the ones that we've created. And so like here's a video one that we added in just recently. But we put in a bunch of these, and these are just motion Bible verse art, which is really, really gorgeous and a fantastic thing to be able to use either in your service or before the service or after the service. So while we're on the subject of Bible verse art, just want to throw that in really quick. Okay, Jessie asks, she says, I'm new to Proclaim, but is there a way to create a folder in media for sermon slides that change every week? We don't want to keep those slides in the library. I can take, yeah.
So, or try to.
Yeah, please go for it.
Let's see, you take my.
Yeah.
And how do I there you go, use this computer?
It's a Mac, you understand.
Yeah. So can they see it? I think they can see it. So currently we don't actually have folders. That's something people have wanted before. And so I know it's on our radar because I've talked about it. But here's the group upload. Of course, I'm using Wyatt. So look, there's little Wyatt.
Okay, we can move on.
I'm sorry.
We don't need to fixate on that.
When you upload any of your files, it always presents you with this tag. And so what I do is I always tag this with like the date. So like 10, I don't even know what date it is. It's like the 20 something. I'm just gonna 29. Perfect. 10, 29, 15 is what I just tagged this as. And if I go up to find and I type 10, 29, 15, notice group upload. Shoot, I clicked it. Group upload, and then 10, 29, 15. And only this one shows up. And now I can right click on it and say remove from library. Or I can add it. And so if you're uploading your sermon slides, you can always tag them with each one, and it's super quick to just find the slides you're looking for. And in the same way, I tag all my pre-service loop slides with loop. Of course, Wyatt doesn't. But when I want to find a loop slide, I can easily find them and then delete the ones that are old or add new ones. So hopefully that will help you a little bit. And in the future, maybe we'll have folders for you.
All right. Let's see here. So Jesse, that helps you answer your question. For anyone who has questions either through this where they want to go into more detail or maybe something specific, or if they have a question after this, again, email us at hello, HELLO, at proclaimonline.com with feedback or more questions, anything like that. We're happy to follow up with you. Kevin asked, how would the video art show up in the audio recording? I believe it'd just be the still image of the video art is what you would see right now. Right now, anything that's motion-based with an audio recording will just be the thumbnail, and then we're exploring ways to make that more dynamic over time. Jason asks, is there a way to delete, or sorry, there's quite a few questions coming in, so we're going to snag this one here. Kenny says, is there a quick way to remove old slides from sermons that you no longer want? Yeah, anytime you want to remove a slide, you can just double click or right click on it and select delete, and then you can pull those out.
He's probably talking about group upload too.
So yeah, same thing with a group upload. You can go in, right click or double click and delete. So.
And it looks like, let's see. Yeah, so you can also control click or command click on a Mac.
Okay.
In the media browser on your slides, and then when you right click and remove them.
Right, you multi-select. So yeah, you can multi-select slides when you want to pull out batches of them. All right, Robert Walker says, I have a harsh transition from audio on a pre-service into a welcome video. Any way that I can have that audio face or duck rather than do a straight cut?
I was under the impression that we faded the audio out.
Yeah.
So let's see. I'm looking here. I added one. I went to preview. Well, I can hear myself.
Oh yeah, we're gonna want to cut that.
Yeah. Well, maybe this is something you should probably post to the forums about, because it might just be a bug. Maybe there's some way that your system is in a bad state, because I thought it did do that.
So yeah, so kind of just quick clarification for that one. In regards to having the transition from audio in the pre-service into a welcome video, it should fade out audio and be smooth for you when that happens. But Robert Walker, if you wouldn't mind going ahead and posting into the forums the way we discussed earlier, either going through our website or go to Proclaim, choose the help section in the upper left-hand corner, and then click on the view community or the online forums. And from there, make a post explaining what's happening. We'll follow up with you directly so we can take care of that. And Robert Walker says, on the same topic, is there a way I can adjust the volume of individual items, videos, audio, and elements, etc.? Do you want to take this one?
Sure. So we have like a global audio setting. So wherever you see, here, I'll try to use Proclaim. Let's see. And you don't have any audio. Awesome. I'll just show you on a video. So see this audio right here on a video? This also appears up here when you're playing background audio, and they're all the same audio. So this is something people have asked for. You know, like maybe over here would be a volume that you could set your volume. So no, you can't just individually set it. You could, of course, when you click play on here, when you're in preview, you know, very quickly grab this and move it to whatever you want. But there's no way to individually set audio.
So that's something that we have heard, and so it's something we'll explore options there. So right now, there's two audio. There's the audio level for volume for items that are being played, such as songs, and then videos themselves, there's the scale that you can slide. All right, Jason Walker asks, is there a way to delete song uploads from the music library? So yeah, same thing. If you right-click or double-click on those, you will see the delete option, and you can pull those out.
Also, hopefully you have songs that you've uploaded.
I actually don't know if I have on this account.
Well, I'll just like look. So if I go up here and I add a song, I go in here and I start typing something. Oh, see, okay, he has my
songs,
song.
yeah, not audio.
So
because
like,
I have the
let's
lyrics.
say I don't want this sized one anymore. Can I delete this? I can actually just right click in this menu and click remove from my songs, and then that one won't ever pop up again. So if you uploaded a song on accident and it has bad lyrics or something, like, you know, a bunch of typos, and you're sick of trying to fix it, you can just delete it.
All right. Now, currently there are no other questions, but we've got a few more minutes where we can answer your questions. So if anyone else has pressing or burning questions, this is a great time to go ahead and post those for us. If you don't have a questions, then we'll go ahead and wrap up in just a minute here. But again, for everyone who's here, we really appreciate you taking the time to be here. We'd love to answer any questions that you have remaining. And we really do want to hear from you. We'd love to know what is great about this new feature, what are the things that we can improve, what's great about webinars, and what are the things we can improve. The more you tell us information, the better we can serve you. And it's really kind of a unique opportunity, especially in this format with the webinar, where we're able to directly interact with you and hear your questions and answer them live. So this is a great opportunity for us, and it's a great opportunity for you to be able to make sure that we are able to listen clearly and just spend time with you. So we thank you so much for being here. Want to give it just a second. There's a couple other questions that are coming in. Kevin asks, Mac or PC? I think I know what you mean by that, so I'm going to start with one answer and then another one. The first answer, for anyone who's not aware, Proclaim, when you get a license, works on Mac and PC. They both work great. You're probably asking which one we prefer. Jordan clearly prefers one of these options, but it's worth noting that Jordan's also one of our Mac developers, and so we keep him around in part because he's really gifted with that platform. Personally, I use both. I like working with both. It just depends on what I'm doing. So. And luckily, Jason weighs in on the Mac side. So far, it says that we've got 2 for Mac and 1 for both. And Jason wasn't asking about Song Database. He was asking about a way to get an audio file out of the media database. And it's the same thing. If you do have audio files, you just right-click. You should be able to delete them out, I believe.
What? I didn't read the question.
Oh,
out of our
yeah.
Oh,
so
like if you uploaded a
like you had song items that you were attaching in the various items.
Of course, Wyatt doesn't have a song, but yeah,
I don't
you should.
currently.
Let me look on my computer. Just I have songs on here. So if I go to Add Audio Tracks and Browse Audio, I can right-click. Yep, it's the same. So if you go to Browse Audio and you're gonna choose one of your audio tracks, you can right-click on it, and there's also a Remove from Library button.
All right, there you go, Jason. All right, Kenny says, what was the shortcut using a Mac to delete several unwanted media files and group uploads? So in answer to the question, Kenny, when you're in the program, so for example, I'm on Mac, let me just show you this really quick. If I go into the media and click on the group uploads, I can identify images. And on Mac, it's holding down Command. On if you're on a PC, it's holding down Control. But you'll see that I just mass selected about, let's see, 6 items here. And then I can choose the Remove from Service option, or Remove from Library. And that will pull all of those out of my group uploads. So that's how we do that. All right, and then Robert says it might be another bug, but he had an on-air Bible not work well on air, or on-screen Bible. It didn't run through the video of the element. When I changed the type of the on-screen Bible, it worked. This was on Mac. Robert, could you go ahead and post in the forums about that one? Just because you're talking about the type of the on-screen Bible, it would be good for us to know a little bit more of what you mean by that and be able to follow up directly. So if you post about that, Jordan and I will be able to make sure that's followed up with. Appreciate that. Thank you so much. David Duncan says, it looks like the pictures in an image slideshow need to be uploaded and synced to your Proclaim group to show up on your published file. Yeah, that's correct. Whenever you're uploading images into Proclaim, you have the option of either putting it and syncing it for your whole group, or just keeping it locally on your computer. If you want to put in images, which will then end up on your audio recording and linked there so that in Faith Life or Sound Faith, those are showing up, you do want those to be synced across your group, not just uploaded onto your computer. So great, David, really appreciate you telling us that and that that's working for us and clarifying that. And it looks like we're all set. We have space for just a couple more questions, but right now there aren't any. So we're gonna give it just, I don't know, maybe another 30 seconds to see if questions do filter in. Otherwise, we're gonna wrap up. In the meantime, while we're killing 30 seconds, because Jordan went through the time of showing child me in picture form, I feel the need to just gotta let everyone know that I've actually been working with audio visual since I think this picture of me is when I'm 8 or 9, helping volunteer at our church. So it is a passion for me and for our whole team here to be able to bring you a better worship experience, a better ministry, a presentation experience. And it's just a joy for me after growing up doing all of this to be able to see meaningful ways to improve rather than just when I was a kid going, man, I wish there was a better way other than PowerPoint for me to bring in this image, and now we have better ways. So it's exciting to see meaningful progress here on this team. All right, Sandra asks, after the audio recordings are published, will they be able to be deleted later? Yes, there will be a way to do this. Again, as soon as with Sound Faith, it's in the beta, but we're adding in lots of new tools. As soon as we add in the ability for individual users to sign in, they'll be able to access just the presentations that they are uploading and publishing, and they'll be able to delete those out. So that is very much on the way. We'll be able to have more management tools soon. Kevin Brown says, can I add the entire group of sermon slides to my presentation?
I feel like he's talking about group upload. Can I show a few things?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but he'll tell me after I show him if I was wrong. So we're back in Media Browser again. Let's say all of these were slides that I wanted to add to my presentation. I could manually go through and grab all these like this, and then I could go over here and say, thought that would say image slideshow. See, this is why we're doing this. If I go add an image slideshow first, pop it here, go to add images, browse media, group upload, and now I start to grab them. Okay, yeah. Now I add them to my image slideshow, and they all show up here. So that would be if we already had images in the media browser, but an even better way would be to add a blank image slideshow first, and then use the upload option on an image slideshow, and then just grab the images you wish to upload. And then I would tag these like with my sermon 10/29/15, and then boom.
So there you go. That's the way that you can do that. So Kevin, I hope that's what you're going after. If you're not, feel free to clarify that for us. All right. Jesse asks, I know this isn't audio, but how about syncing with Planning Center or Elvanto work? It looks like I can upload service plan one way, but it doesn't update the service plan in those apps from a change in Proclaim. Yeah, that's correct. So quick clarification, with Proclaim, you're able to link into CCLI, to Graceway, Elvanto, and Planning Center. And with Planning Center and Elvanto, the way that works is you're creating your service and you have your set list with your songs and announcements. You can bring that straight into Proclaim. But when you bring that in, essentially what it's doing is it's trying to save you time. We figure if you've already helped build out part of your service in, say, Elvanto or in Planning Center, then you don't want to do that same work twice in Proclaim. So it's easy to import and bring that into your order of service, arrange things, and make sure everything's edited correctly. But it's not syncing between the two programs. We're just taking what is currently your order of songs and content from either of those, dropping them into a service in Proclaim, and then syncing across Proclaim. So it is only one directional in Proclaim, and then that'll sync across your group, but only within Proclaim, not within those programs. So I hope that clarifies that for you, Jesse. And Kevin was speaking of the sermon background. Okay, I think I get what you're going after. Give me just a second here. I want to find this. Yeah. Entire group of sermon slides to my presentation. So anything displayed, I think, Kevin, if I'm understanding you correctly, and if I'm not, feel free to email me. You can find me at wyatt@proclaimonline.com. But I think if I'm understanding correctly, then you're talking about images in the program. And so any image that you have as a slide, if you record over when you're speaking during that slide, that will become part of what we link to when you publish out your sermon presentation. So you have the visual and the audio together. If you're talking about the image that you attach specifically to the title Bible content, there we go. So Kevin, in regards to that one, here, let me go ahead and open this for you. That is meant to be an image. So here is where he's speaking about this, is when we go into recordings. So there's an image right here. Now in this case, I've just chosen an image, and I can change this to a different image if I want. But this is an image that's meant to essentially act as a thumbnail for this audio recording. And it's meant to do that from soundfaith.com. So you'll notice that when I go to SoundFaith, say I click on the manage option here, it'll take me into the page on SoundFaith. And same thing, I can play my audio recording from SoundFaith here. Our first slide that's actually in the audio recording. And you can see that here. So stop it. I can jump around within the waveform if I want to see what slide we were currently on. But you'll see that each of those, that's just the items that were in my service. The image right here is the image I uploaded. And that was so that I had an image to go along with this sermon. And again, as we continue making this website, this will become something where you have more tools. But this will, again, the image acts as a thumbnail for the sermon. So it's not like a multi-image or something for having the picture be associated with like lots of images from your sermon. It's meant to just be an image as kind of a thumbnail to help locate that sermon and identify it and give it some better indication. And so that one is something that you can go ahead and just set up and have that picture for. So I hope that makes sense, Kevin. If not, go ahead and let me know. John Marino. Hey, John, how's it going? I know I've spoken to you on the phones before. He says, I got here a bit late. Is there the possibility of using this feature with iPhone, iPad? Yes, I mean, the way it works is when you're doing your recording, whichever audio recording you want is going to be, you want that to go into the computer where you're recording. But when you set up the audio recording cues, as you'll still be able to control where you are in the presentation using your iPhone or your iPad using the remote app, and it will go ahead and take care of that recording for you. Just make sure that your mic is going in throughout that. But yes, and if you have any questions, John, you want to follow up since we are coming up on the tail end of this, feel free to email me again. I'm sure you probably still have my email, and I look forward to hearing from you. And then Jessie asks, she says, thank you. We've tried to create a default style template just for a background, but doesn't seem to change a new slide when selected. For example, we want our service plan titles to have our church logo background.
Styles don't save the background for the text.
So like in the...
So Jesse's made a style, a custom... Let me just open Proclaim. It's easier than talking. Okay, so I've added a new content item, and I'm saying hi. And then I'm going to make this news cycle, and I'm going to make it 120 fun, and make it over there. So if that's a style I'm going to use all the time, I can save it as like weird style. Okay, so weird style is saved, and I can go to his intro slide here and like ruin it using my weird style. Then see Proclaim auto magically resize the text so it fits, so it actually doesn't look too weird. But notice it didn't do anything to do with backgrounds. This background has leaves on it, and this background is something else. So sadly, no, it doesn't work like that. But you could make a new presentation, and you could call it like sermon template. And then in your sermon template, you could add your own background and select the one that has your logo on it. Like, we'll just go with Little Wyatt. And then you can use your, and I'll name this something like a sermon start. Okay. Now if I go back to his old presentation, I can use the reuse items. Sermon start from sermon template. And I think if I search sermon template, yeah, see if I search sermon template, it's going to show me all the items from sermon template. So you could use this to just make a whole template sermon, and then whenever you make new ones, you just pull right from it. So that might be a solution for you. I think it's pretty slick. It works pretty quick. And so hopefully that works. Yeah, I assumed he was a he too.
Oh, sorry, Jesse. My apologies. Style doesn't seem to save. Anytime you set a style, it will save there within the styles. And so again, when you click the style drop-down menu, that's where you can access those. You just save whatever currently is set up as your style. But that doesn't apply to the image. Backgrounds are separate from those. And it looks like we're all set on that. So appreciate that. Well, okay, everybody. Hey, thank you so much for being here. If you have any other questions, again, reach us at hello@proclaimonline.com. Tell us about what you think of the new feature. Tell us about how the webinar went today. We look forward to hearing from you. Thank you so much for taking the time today. And from both Jordan and I, we just want to say thanks. Have a great week, and God bless. Happy recording this weekend.